It's 8 p.m. here, so I don't think you guys can hear it, but everyone's screaming outside for the healthcare workers, which is pretty cool.
Is that I didn't know that was a thing. That is cool.
Oh yeah, every day at 8 p.m. everyone opens up their windows and screams and flashes their lights. It's pretty cool.
Wait, so that's a thing in Chicago? Is everyone just opens a window and yells out the window?
Yeah, they all just start screaming, and then everyone like flickers their lights on and off.
It's actually a thing in Chicago all the time, but now they just do it for a reason.
Exactly.
All right. Wait, so who are we missing right now? Just Lucho?
Yeah, Bitcoin Audio went to get a drink, but he'll be back.
Word.
It's Lucho's deal.
Let's try intros again. For all the live or all the viewers, apologies. I have no idea why it wasn't working earlier because it seems like it's working now. I just had to restart my computer. But welcome to the first ever artists takeover of Drinks in Quarantine. We have an amazing crew of both visual and audio artists here. Thanks to Tommy, Young Gucci T over there on the bottom right, who organized the whole thing. We got a bunch of cool themes, and just super excited to get into it. While we were having technical difficulties, an amazing conversation was being had. So I hope that we can repeat that and keep it going. But why don't we start with introductions and talking about what drink you're drinking. So let's start with Josie over on the top right, and then go from there.
Sure. I'm drinking a Dark and Stormy, which is rum, ginger beer, and lime. One of my favorites. Yeah, and also dreaming that it's summer. We were chatting about that earlier, dreaming I could go outside. But I am a crypto artist. I've been doing crypto art for a few years to spread awareness, make connections, just chat with awesome people. And I'm super happy to be here with you guys and just continue that conversation.
Sweet. Let's go to Tommy. What's up, Tommy? You got some Satoshi art behind you.
Yo, yeah, this was a piece I was doing for the conference that we never ended up having or couldn't have. But
Postponed.
Hopefully we can put it on soon, but who knows what San Francisco is up to these days. But yeah, I'm drinking a margarita out of this thing. I kind of wish it was what Josie's having, but it'll work.
Damn, dude, you wish you're drinking a margarita at Moscow Mule Tin, and you wish you had a Dark and Stormy. Sad.
Yeah, because the ginger beer made me want that, you know?
All right, let's go to Brecky. What's good, Brecky? Looking good.
Hey, everybody. This is Brecky. I don't know what I am. I make Bitcoin art, physical Bitcoin art for now. I started that about a year or so ago. I also work for a company called Tantra Labs as their creative director, and now Swan Bitcoin is their creative director. So doing a couple things and doing something fun with Mr. Bitcoin Audio over there, but we're gonna talk about that later, hopefully. Oh, and with Josie. So
Word.
I like to collaborate with fun people.
Collabs everywhere. Let's go to Bitcoin Audio. What are you drinking?
Hey,
What's your story?
Good?
You got some interesting
good,
takes on the blockchain about Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely has the value of Bitcoin, period. You can never really grasp the value of it. It's just all around. So let me just say, I got my vodka, seltzer, splash of Red Bull. That keeps me going. I don't get sleepy, but I get my buzz. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a hobby musician. I'm a hobby coder. I'm waiting for the flippening where my day job will become my side hustle. Okay. That's ultimately my goal. So my day job could be my side hustle, and what I do at night and on weekends and on my spare time, which is code and music, will be the daily. That's me.
Bless up.
That's who I am.
Bless up.
It's a dream.
Lucho, you just made it. How's it going, man?
I made it.
Welcome.
What's up, guys? I made it. Sorry for my tardiness today.
It's okay. We were having technical difficulties the whole time, so it's working now.
Oh, okay.
You did
Cool,
not
man.
miss
What's up,
anything.
guys?
You got a drink,
How's it
Lucho?
What's everyone drinking? Yeah, I was drinking mezcal. I got
Mm.
some
Like
limes over.
you shooting it or what?
Yeah, I took 2 shots to get ready for this, so I think I'm in good shape, man.
I got ridiculed once for drinking mezcal the same way that you take like tequila shots with salt and lime. They're like, "What the fuck is that? You're not supposed to do it that way."
Oh yeah, you're supposed to savor it.
Cool, man. Well, welcome. I'm a big fan of your propaganda art, so really stoked to have you here.
Cool, thanks, man. Cool to
Uh,
be here with all you guys too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to Jay Skrilla, dude. I've been jamming to your to Sound Money the past couple days. Thanks for joining. Why don't you tell us about what you're indulging in and what you do?
I've got a hot tea here with Peter Schiff tweets there.
Let's go.
I'm indulging in some marijuana. And I'm a musician and artist, and I run a couple of Bitcoin ATMs, and yeah. So yeah, I just put out Sound Money, and it's a Bitcoin themed hip hop album. Check it out.
Shit, I haven't heard it.
Gotta
Can we
check
listen
that
to
out.
it to some of the tracks while we're in here?
Sure. Here,
Sure.
let me. I'm gonna. I mean, the easiest way
I vote
is
we
just
do
to
that.
throw up the waiting screen for people who want to get a taste. So I'll do that for a second here for the audience.
Do it.
A digital currency
I was bumping that shit earlier.
in which transactions
Word.
can be performed without the need for
Yeah,
a
for the audience that
Jared,
missed
we come to
the technical difficulties, check out the Having live stream around May 11th in a couple weeks on Bitcoin Magazine at bitcoinhaving.com. Listen to Jay Skrilla's tunes. But yeah, let's get we'll link to where he can get that later, or you guys can listen to that. I'm pretty sure it's available on Spotify and all that good stuff. But yeah, let's get back into to introductions. Last but not least, Pat, my man, how's it going? What are you drinking? What do you do?
What's up, man? I'm drinking margaritas, as I said, trying to support my favorite Mexican restaurant down the street. So single-handedly, keeping them afloat, buying their margaritas every night. So doing what we can out here. But yeah, I'm here at the NSA. We're on Zoom, so I figured they're keeping an eye on us. We'll keep an eye on them. But yeah, man, I'm the creative director at BTC Inc. Been in the space for 6 years. Just Swiss Army knife. Just do a lot of this, a lot of that. Mainly design. Starting companies. Just wherever I plug in. So happy to be here, man. Thanks for organizing it.
Oh no, you're muted.
Oh, my bad. Yeah,
you
thanks
go.
Tommy for bringing it all together. This is his. He was the one who's like, yo, we got to do an artist takeover. So I was like, all right, can't say no to that. Next, we have some rules, guys. And these might be a little tough. First rule is no shilling altcoins. So you can talk about altcoins, but you can't shill them. This is Bitcoin Magazine. All right, and if you break these rules, you gotta drink or smoke. Rule number 2, you can't say NFT. So you gotta say something different. Nifty.
Why not?
Something.
Why not?
No. You can say nifty.
You can say something else, but you just can't say NFT.
Or just call
Or
it
non-fungible
non-fungible.
token.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
They exist on Bitcoin, so I don't know like if that's
Yeah.
the
That's
reasoning.
just the challenge.
We're trying to make you drink, bro. Last week you
okay.
couldn't say Bitcoin at all. So
Wait,
trying to get you-
so I can't say NFT?
you can't drink, please.
Drink.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
no.
And last is you can't
Got it.
say crypto.
Ah,
So no shilling altcoins, can't say NFT, can't say crypto. Come up with something better.
I'll be sober this whole time then, man. Give me something that I
So I guess
So
before we
what would you say is the ultimate transfer of artistic value, right? Because isn't that what these certain things are? We're as artists, you want to present an item, you want to present something, and it holds value. It holds value. Bitcoin holds value. and it will hold its value over time, unlike fiat, and unlike other things like oil, right, and gold. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna push back on you. It's not all necessarily about value. Sometimes it's about like the message. It's about the experience. Like value is like a second layer kind of thing going on. But maybe.
No, but don't you? Isn't that experience hold? Doesn't that experience hold value? Right. You know, the time. Believe it or not, and sadly to say, the time that you spend now more with your family or doing things that you can do, right? That holds value too. 'Cause time is the ultimate, store of value. So
Yeah, we're starting deep here. I love it.
I'm not drunk enough for this yet.
Yeah. Skrilla, pass that shit.
Yeah, we need.
Brecky, say a few bad words so you can take some drinks.
I don't need an excuse to drink. I can just do it too. Ethereum is great.
Oh,
man, I hope we're not recording that.
Oh man, of course.
Black
It's
man.
It's a sound bite right there.
Yeah.
Are we sure we're live and this is working?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't going to Bitcoin Magazine Twitter, but y'all should retweet that. God damn. I'm sorry, you guys. It's not my fault.
it's all good for version 0.01. You know, by the time we get to version 0.5, you know.
This is supposed
My man, this is not the first live stream.
Well, isn't the first Bitcoin artist?
Yeah, you're right. So we missed on the live stream. We totally missed all the intros and all the rules. But let's just get back to the rules and then we'll go from there. So just a reminder, since it wasn't live, everyone go retweet the tweet. And the rules are no shilling shitcoins, can't say NFT, can't say crypto. If you do any of those things, you got to drink or smoke if you're Skrilla.
Got it.
So what do you guys like? What's new in the Bitcoin art world?
That's a broad question.
That's what I want to know. That's why I'm here. Let's start with Brecky. Go. What's new?
What's new? I'm gonna get a little deep here. Also, I'll be honest. Like, unlike some other like artists and creators on like Twitter and whatever during Corona, like this whole like lockdown has zapped my creativity. Like it hasn't really inspired me yet. Like I'm blocking off some time later today after this to go out into my workshop and just like make something, even if it's garbage. But it hasn't done that yet. So nothing's really new on my front. Although we got some cool projects going on with Josie and Bitcoin Audio, separate projects. I can talk about those if you want. So,
I have a question. Is it because do you feel like you're consuming like the news a lot more? What is like, I guess getting even deeper, what do you think the reason is why you have lost that creativity right now?
I don't know yet. I think I'm still trying to process like the world and like how things are and how things are going to be and how I feel about all of this, you know. It's just, it hasn't inspired me. I haven't gotten like so angry yet that I need to go out and crank something out as a response to something either. Like I'm just kind of in a limbo, and it's weird because like on the one hand, like before all this started, I mostly worked from home anyway. So like my actual day-to-day schedule hasn't changed that much, but it's still that like looming like thought of like, what is happening? Where are we going? When are we going to be able to go out to the beach without being harassed by like a cop, like that kind of thing? Like it's just the uncertainty is difficult for me. And so I think I need to latch onto that and use that somehow. But
yo, Brecky, the light behind you is making you disappear, by the way.
Yeah. Let me fix this.
I feel that. I think the uncertainty zaps your energy. I don't know. I don't know what that does to creative. Like, I'm not creative. I'm the only like plebeian here. But I feel like it's like I gotta try extra hard to be motivated.
I had to turn off the news. Like I was definitely consuming too much negative shit, and once I stopped doing that and started consuming just more like shows and stuff, I got my creativity back. but you can't. Yeah, it took a minute to get started.
Dude, Tommy,
when all
you,
this
you've
hit.
been on fire, bro. You've been cranking out nifty little pieces of art on the nonstop.
See what you did there. Yeah, appreciate it. I've just had time to just focus on it all day and not have to really jump back and forth between projects, so I can really focus on one project at a time and crank it out. So it's been nice. Except for this having website and all that, but that's that thing just makes itself. It's easy.
Yeah, I'm stoked about that. How about everyone else? Skrilla, you just dropped an album like 4 days ago. What was that process like? And I mean, did Corona impact that at all?
Yeah, some of the promotion is tougher with Corona because some people are off and going around places can't happen. But for the most part, my life hasn't changed too much. I'm still just making beats and stuff in the basement here. So, but putting the album out, I want to press up vinyl, but the plants are like way pushed back too. So I was gonna do like 100 LP run of the record as well. So I'm waiting to see what's gonna happen with that. But I think that's gonna get pushed back probably to like the summer.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to get one of those.
Yeah.
Same
Oh,
here.
yeah.
It's definitely dope. Definitely dope material.
I was bumping that earlier today.
Thanks. I'm gonna do a part 2 also.
Bro, can we get it on actual vinyl? Is that possible?
That's what I'm trying to do. So that's the
shit.
plan, but they got pushed. Everything's pushed back because the record plants are all like fucked up right now. There's a record plant right 10 miles from here that I use that it's backed up, and the major labels take precedence.
Yo, can you get an orange vinyl press? Is that possible?
Yeah. Let's get Bitcoin Magazine to help sponsor.
Hell yeah.
That would be dope. And orange vinyl. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think orange vinyl has got to be it for sure. Like the orange marble vinyl, like the kind of see-through, kind of a little.
Yeah. Little cover art by by Josie, and that'd be great. A little AR cover art from Josie.
Oh yeah. I was talking to DJ Skrilla about briefly, and we needed to reconnect about it, but about a show that I'm gonna do in VR, and if you're still down, I want you to DJ in the show, because I think that would just be so awesome, like the worlds colliding of like visual and audio art. And I think people would really be into that. And I need to stream your album. I didn't know it just dropped, so I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Brecky and Bitcoin Audio, you got to make the VR version of that Infinity Cube for that.
How we doing, buddy? Like I think it's almost ready, right?
It's definitely in the works. So if you see the background, the prototype is glowing. I have in VR we have, if you get to the Bitcoin Audio World Infinity Block, you'll see the actual piece. I'm still working on the connections. I'm still working on getting the VR to glow. There's some limitations with the VR when it comes down to, because they limit you on scripts and things like that because security reasons. But I think we can get it going. I think we can get a real Infinity Block glowing to the blockchain data going. I know we can do it. It might take a little time, as long as they start lifting some restrictions on in the SDK. It can be done.
We'll make it
but
happen.
In VR, the thing is, I said physical. If it's physically there in VR, but it's not connected to the blockchain yet.
Where can we see it? Like, where are you building? Like in which?
Yeah, in alt space.
Alt space, okay.
Yeah,
it's already there. I think, right? Like, they can go visit it. Maybe we'll drop a link in the in this tweet or something.
Yeah, I'll drop a link in there.
Why don't while you're doing that, I'll tell everyone what this whole thing is that we're talking about here.
Okay.
So real quick, for a while now, I wanted to do something where I basically wanted to make a infinity mirror cube, which is basically like, if you've ever seen an infinity mirror, it's the same kind of principles, but it's a physical cube where if you look inside from any angle, you basically see infinite cubes going in every direction. And to me, that like screamed like the infinite Bitcoin blockchain, just getting longer and longer and longer. And I always wanted it to like basically glow with colors based off data from the latest block for Bitcoin. So like around every 10 minutes, the colors that are of the LEDs would change based off the randomness of the block. And I am a very, very, very bad, just starting to learn how to code coder, and realized very quickly that I wouldn't be able to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish anytime soon. And then I saw this guy on Twitter, Bitcoin Audio, and I hit him up and he was basically like, oh, I'm already building something with color already. And I'm just like, well, shit, this is perfect. So we've been collaborating on this, and the idea it is going to be an installation at Bitcoin 2020, and we are trying to build it very, very tall, and like what were we trying to do? 6.15 feet tall for the cube.
6.15.
Arbitrary
Classic
number.
meme.
Yeah, just arbitrary number, no meaning there. But basically, it'll be this total audio visual experience where there's sound and color and light that's all tied to the Bitcoin blockchain. And it's a visual representation of the blockchain in a way. And it'll also hopefully be interactive. So, let's say you send 1,000 sats to a Lightning, you pay 1,000 sats to a Lightning invoice, then it will either, it'll trigger something. We're coming up with all the effects and whatnot, but we want it to be kind of just taller than almost everybody in the room and kind of mind blowing, and put some color and sound to Bitcoin.
So kind of on that tip, sorry, Josie, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But,
no, I was just gonna say that sounds awesome.
It
Josie,
does sound awesome.
I heard you on Havo's podcast and you were talking about something similar. So I was like, oh shit, it was really cool. So I didn't know that you had kind of been thinking that way too.
So kind of on that tip, I was like, I thought while we're having the technical difficulties, Bitcoin Audio was kind of talking about how he like thinks about deriving sounds out of the Bitcoin blockchain. Like let's talk about that for the audience. Like, what inspired you to kind of even think of that?
Well, yeah, no, the first thing that happened was I asked myself, what does it sound like? And I don't know why. Just one of those things is just, you have these random thoughts that occur throughout your day. And one of them, and sometimes you dismiss them, This one I paid attention to. I asked myself, well, what does the Bitcoin sound like? And I said, okay, let me find out. So being, like I said before, like I'm a hobby musician, I'm a hobby coder, I mixed the two. And I found an implementation of what's web audio API. The web audio is what allows you to listen to sounds in a browser, right? So, in one implementation of it is called Tone.js, TONEJS. And if you if I don't know if you're familiar with music, but C, right? You can play a C on the piano, which middle C, and you can play C1, C2, C3, and it goes up. And so what I did first was I said, okay, let me find C1 somewhere in the block. And so I pulled up any random blockchain height, right? Block height. And I searched, I did Control F, and I found C1. I said, okay, there's a C1, which is an actual note in music in the blockchain. So there has to be more. And I searched and searched, and I said, okay, let me go to the Genesis block and play these notes, because the string of letters and numbers combined are the Merkle root. The string of letters and number are the hash. So in what I did, I created an app, so to speak, to run through that string and play each tone. and that's Bitcoin audio basically. Now you could loop the first 8, you could cut it in half and loop that and make a sound, or a quarter of that string will make a sound, and you can make music with it. I don't know. I had a thought and I ran with it.
Yes,
That's
awesome.
super dope. Super dope. Can we listen to the Genesis block real quick? How long does it take to hear the Genesis?
Oh yeah, I'll get you just 1 second. I'll get you here.
I guess if you just play it on your end.
And like, I don't want to reveal your secret sauce or anything, but like,
no, it's on GitHub. Like, it's open source. Bitcoin's open source, so I can't lock down any of the thought processes, or anything that I create cannot be closed, because Bitcoin's open.
What do you do for the numbers, or for the letters outside of the hex? Oh shit.
So when you code, right, you try, there's a try else, right? So you try this certain thing. If it doesn't work, then you do something else. So you try this code. If it makes a sound, good, great. If not, then skip it and
So
start over.
that's how the breaks in between the tones.
I mean, this is the raw.
I see Skrilla nodding his head. He's thinking of something. There's something turning in there.
Yeah, take this.
This is. I don't. Is it loud enough? Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can hear it.
Okay, so this is the whole string. I'm gonna cut it in half. I'm gonna slow it down a little bit.
My dog would love this shit.
And I'm gonna cut that string in half.
By the time the conference comes, we're gonna make it so that it's very very smooth on the ears. Don't worry.
You could change. You can definitely change the type of synth.
There we go.
A little bit better.
What gives it the rhythm, Bitcoin audio?
The rhythm is basically it's the try else thing.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
It's basically, if it can make a sound, it will, and if it can't, it won't.
Okay.
So it's almost like an algorithm. I'm using someone else's implementation of the web audio API as my algorithm to run Bitcoin audio.
Gotcha.
Right? And so you can
it up a little bit.
I haven't been to the club in a while, so this is.
It sounds like a
something.
juvenile needed some cash money too.
So you can take a certain thing, a certain sound, and repeat it, right? And I'm gonna tell you right now, this is what my ringtone. I made a ringtone from it. This is my ringtone.
The certified
audio.
Bitcoin ringtone.
This is the Genesis block? Is that the Genesis block?
This is just the Genesis block. And this is only the root, okay, the Merkle root. Now, if you wanted to, you can experiment with the hash. You can go into transaction data. I have not dived into the transaction data yet.
Bro, what does the white paper sound like? That's what I want to know.
Oh, the white paper sounds like when I play this and I play the white paper, it says a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash. You know what I'm saying? It's wicked. It's wicked. It's wicked. And that's what I do on my spare time. I have not had the capacity to do like, DJ J Skrilla and make an album of it. But ultimately, hopefully, eventually, they can get there.
No, send me that Genesis block sample.
Hey, we'll definitely connect. I'll send it to you. And if you wanted to, because it's proof of sound, you can go to the Bitcoin Audio, the site, play the Genesis block, and play with the synths and make your own.
Yeah,
You know.
I was gonna say,
So
is like the MIDI code up there?
I have a MIDI version that if you have a MIDI like a pad, you know, you could, it's connected to the browser. I have not released that yet, but yeah, it's MIDI capable.
Shit, yo, we got to have a MIDI pad at the installation when we do that. It's like, yo, Genesis block button and this button, like.
Yeah, yep.
I'm bringing my Oculus so we can have like people in VR listening to music, like doing crazy shit. This
okay, Josie, this installation just like went up a notch. We have to do that. It has to happen.
Yep, all the way.
That's really all this is. This is just a brainstorm for the conference. We're just going over what we're going to do.
Screw you, CK. You're just brain draining us right now.
He's taking notes.
That was dope, though.
Can we hear from Lucho? I miss this guy. He's down in Mexico. I never see him.
What's up,
hear
man?
how he is.
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Mexico hasn't been too bad with Corona, but like everyone has to wear face masks now. And,
wait, one question. What's your AKA?
What do you mean?
Your Lucho Paletti AKA.
AKA. I lost my AKA, man.
Yeah. What was it though?
Before?
Yeah.
It was whole crypto.
Drink!
Oh,
you have to drink!
Shit. Dude, I need to go get my mezcal.
Sorry, I had to do it.
Yeah.
We used to have a rule that if you say drink, you have to drink. So we should keep that one. We should have kept that one.
But yeah, man. I mean, it's the same over here now, man. I mean, like everything's shut down. You know, we all have to stay inside most of the time. So, but it wasn't like that for a while. So, you know.
Are there mass bailouts too? Like what's happened? Like how's the government?
No, dude. You know the thing that's weird about like being in Mexico is that you kind of see like a more, I don't know, I guess for lack of better words, I might say like a more raw version of life. Like people aren't so comfortable there that they can just stay home. You know, everyone's living hand to mouth here. So everyone goes to work still. Everyone works. All the markets are open and they're still open. But all the major like the retail stores are all closed. But like you see like everyone still works and like, you know, it's everyone still rides public transportation. It's like, you know, they're all packed in there and sweating on each other. But I mean, thankfully, like there aren't a lot of cases here. You know, that's just how it is. But the measures are still like everyone has to stay inside. All the businesses are closed. So that's how it is, man. Like for me, I stocked up on my stickers, prints, you know, bought a bunch of paints and stuff. And I'm working out of the house and, you know, just like my job to like not try to like spread or whatever. Like I stay in most of the time, but that's me normally, you know? So it is what it is, man.
I will say this, artists are probably the least contributors to the spread of COVID because we're freaking loners and we just stay home and work on shit.
Yeah, man.
Tommy can relate to that.
It's the damn truth. My life has not changed much at all.
Have you all had like friends who like came out of the woodwork and like want to Zoom all the time? And I don't know, this is happening to me and I'm just like,
family.
You didn't call me. Before this, you never called me and now you want to do this? It's like, you're just lonely. Like that's your problem. I don't know.
No, it's great for the fam.
Yeah, for family, it's great.
Family chains. We didn't have that before all this.
Yeah, we had a giant family Zoom the other day, and like it was the first time that so many of the family members had like been all in the same room together, and it was nice. It was cool. I did get to a point where I had to leave, or I wanted to leave, so I took a screenshot of myself, and then I made that my background, and I walked away for like 5 minutes. But otherwise, it was great.
Dude, if only you could do that like on Thanksgiving, right?
Well, we'll see how this Thanksgiving goes. That might unfortunately be the case. But
let's not talk about that. All right, y'all. Let's get to the next slide. So we have bullish or bearish. So the way this works is I'm gonna say a topic, and then you guys each take a turn saying why you're bullish or bearish on it and why. First is NFTs in general.
Drink.
Oh, drink. All right, call out who goes first.
All right, Pat.
I am bullish because I think that it's so easy to create them that I don't think the scarcity argument is there, but it's a really unique way to for patrons or collectors to support their artists directly, you know. And I think that, like, I'm not really sold on the collectible aspect of it right now, because, like, once it's digital, I don't personally find much.
You've seen the price of an original Josie NFT. Damn it, I'm got to drink. But have you?
There you go. I have.
It's working.
But for me, if I were to purchase a piece of Josie's, for example, I think the more meaningful connection there is that, like, I have a direct way to kind of support what she's doing, you know, and if that's, you know, like, you always see those benches. I don't know if this is a good analogy, but you see those benches where it's like people who donated to some cause. It's like, it's kind of like that. Like, you can kind of collectively pull people together and support something, and that's really cool. So I don't think it's, you know, I don't go for the collector part of it, but I think it's a really unique way to create a new relationship between creators and people who want to support their artist, you know. So overall bullish, I would say.
I'll go after that. I definitely say I'm bullish as well. It's interesting you mentioned, like, you don't really see it as a collector standpoint, because at least within my community, I find it super, like, special and amazing, and a huge goal of mine to connect with my collectors. Even if someone is not a collector, but they're just interested in my work, I find different ways to incentivize and just, like, reward that. So, like, giving out, I sometimes do, like, free wearables in different, like, virtual lands or virtual worlds, free whatever. But it's interesting because the market that I am really intrigued in is this secondary market, where the collectors are actually benefiting from collecting in my work, being an early supporter. And I think I was doing the math the other day, but I don't remember the exact average. It's between, like, 500% and 800% that people earn on the secondary from my non-fungible tokens, which I think is awesome. Like, if
That's
I can
like
sell
resales? That's
resales, all secondary. So for me, it's super, super important to not be marking everything up as high as I think it might sell. It's important for, like, the collector base to grow for me. And if that means marking it at a price that, you know, is more approachable or something like that, and then even if that person flips it, I think that's fucking awesome. If they can make, you know, an 8x return on something. The really amazing thing about non-fungible tokens is that I also get a royalty from that secondary market. They make a return. I found a new collector. Like, there's all these different factors that I think are, like, really amazing with it. And I can, as some of you probably know, I could talk about it for days, but I'm obviously super bullish on it. And I think it's really exciting, and obviously part of some chats that are trying to bring more visibility, more, like, technical support for non-fungible tokens on Bitcoin, which I think is really exciting. Also really interesting to see and talk to my collectors on whether they like that or not. But I'm overall very bullish.
Let's take a quick pause. Is there anyone who's bearish on non-fungible tokens? Raise your hand. None. Okay. So let's just keep talking about why you guys like non-fungible tokens.
Well, I'll just add one little thing to what Pat and Josie said. Like, not only do you have a connection to your collection and everything, but you have a kind of like a paper trail of how that that single piece was transacted throughout history, right? So, like, from the point it was tokenized to however many times it's passed from one collector to another, you get to see how its value grew, and you have, like, a permanent record of that you can look back at the current price of ETH or whatever. But I'm completely bullish on it, but I think we need to find ways to get it on Bitcoin blockchain instead of Ethereum, because I think that to me brings a lot more value.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Like with that, my thing is that I think that there's a lot of collectors that are kind of like more Bitcoin oriented, and they're collecting physical art, but they're not willing to step into Ethereum to collect those tokens at all. A good bit of them. Like there's a lot of people who might, just dabble in it, but I think a lot of people are not like really interested in getting into Ethereum if they're very maximalist about Bitcoin. Um, I didn't disagree. I'm pretty bullish on NFTs. You see everything that's going on. Like I agree like with what Josie said. Um, my thing is that like users is like very small, and that's like the main. So I'm bullish on it, but I think that there needs to be more adoption of NFTs for it to really blow up. So you look at the statistics and user numbers are like less than 100 on like most of the platforms, which is pretty bad. But considering that, the community is like really strong, and the numbers like prices are shooting up, volume shooting up, more platforms are popping up, and they're all successful. So I think like the formations there, and like what's good is like a lot of things are being figured out, with artist commissions, curation, stuff like that. So I think it's really bullish overall. I'd like to see like if I log on and see that there's like 2x users from last month or 3x or 10x, then personally I'll get like really excited, but numbers are not too strong. If you look at the user numbers, it's like
Are you talking about just art platforms or like the NFT space? Oh, fuck.
Drake.
Yeah, like I'm talking just
In general.
I'm talking about like
I told you this would work.
if you log on to Super Rare, Known Origin.
Okay. So art platforms.
So art platforms, which are the main, like they have more user, like I know you sell your stuff on OpenSea, like you do stuff independently as well as platforms, right? But,
I don't, normally I don't do platforms, but yeah, I do OpenSea.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what you meant.
Yeah, which is smart too. But my point is like, even like to your, like what
It's
you
tiny,
do,
totally.
you stay independent a lot, which is smart in my opinion, because I sign up for platforms and I expect big crowds. And then I realize after a while I should have just gone independent, but I believe in them as well. Like they'll figure it out and they'll bring more users in my opinion.
I mean, it kind of just makes me think, it confirms like my belief that as with most things in the creative space, like content is all that really matters. Like if you have amazing stuff to share that people will want, then they will go wherever it is. Doesn't really matter. Like, I don't know. Need to think about it a bit more.
A thing that
go ahead.
Oh yeah, a thing I always wonder is, when you buy like a physical piece of art, right? You take it home, you put it up in your house, you get to see it, you get to enjoy it every day. When people come over, it's something that you can all enjoy. And I guess I think that that's a missing piece to this whole equation. Is someone buys a NFT, right, and they can display it within the platform, but nobody is like, oh yeah.
I mean, there's been talk of this. There's been talk of this though, like among the people doing NFTs, like there needs.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
We drinking, baby. We drinking.
Can you say non-fungible token?
Yes, just can't say the acronym.
There's a group doing it. There's a group doing it where and it's interesting because I don't know about you guys. I live in a small apartment. I've already filled up my entire wall space. Like there's also this aspect of like being able to collect art that can easily be traded and sold on secondary market when you actually don't have to ship anything physically. And a lot of times with a lot of my collectors, it's seen as an investment. I've had a collector say to me, I'm saving your non-fungible tokens for my kids. Like it's an investment for them. And of course, that collector in particular buys prints and does hang them on their wall. But at a lot of times, like these people are coming out with digital frames that are very cool, that actually you can program the digital frame to flip through your MetaMask wallet. So that is where it becomes really cool. You can visualize it, you can see it in your home, you can share that with other people. And a lot of, as you guys know, the non-fungible tokens are moving in some way, like they're GIFs. So you can like experience the movement, and it flips through all of them, and it updates daily. If you're buying something new in your wallet, it displays there. So it's kind of like a one frame that shows it all. So I think that will actually be really huge once they figure all of that out. And then I know also like Nifty Gateway is trying to do something for smart TVs that plugs in and like shows all of your stuff. There are a few people working on things like that, but I agree. Right now, it's definitely not enough is out there.
So here's just one thing that pops into my mind when I think about this, is that because of the art being essentially digitally native, there's already proof that there are people who will want to collect it and who will find value in it and see it in that respect. But like on the flip side of things, like let's say I've got a living room with a big flat screen, like there's really nothing stopping me from making like my own video of a bunch of Luchos and
100%.
Josies flipping through. So I think it'll vary by person. You know, there will be those people who value the fact that they are the one who owns 1 out of 21, 1 out of 1, whatever it is, you know? And then there will be people who just, you know, steal images as they've always done.
Well, I don't even see that as stealing, to be honest, because like if you guys have seen like Async, for example, which is an awesome platform that honestly I'm obsessed with, like they've figured out a way to allow reactive art. So I'm making a piece right now that literally the artwork changes depending on the like emission schedule of Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin, the transactions that day. Like the artwork actually changes dependent on those things. Like that stuff really, really excites me. But the cool thing is that, anyone can display that on their TV screen. But at the end of the day, I see it as so much more than owning a print or owning a piece, like a physical piece of artwork, which you guys know, all of my pieces start as physical works mostly, which I think has its own importance in itself. But at the same time, non-fungible tokens, I feel like there's so much more to it than just like owning an edition of it. Like I said, I find a lot of it as an investment and things that even like, I don't purchase a lot of other people's NFTs because I'm into like, I'm into Bitcoin art, so I'm trying to like not break the rules right now. I'm into Bitcoin art, and there aren't a lot of Bitcoin artists out there. There are a lot of non-fungible token artists, but I consider those two different things. Like they're not making. I'll just break the rule because it makes more sense. But they're not crypto artists if they're just making art that actually doesn't have that theme, in my opinion. So I think there's more to it than just owning the piece and showing the piece. I think it's like truly an investment behind it, which is why I'm so bullish on it, because it's bringing such a different market to the space that like traditional physical art didn't have before. You know what I mean?
You're always
back in 2016, I made a piece called DJ Pepe, and the DJ Pepe token gives you access when you go into the wallet. If you don't have the token, it won't be there. But if you do have it, it says bonus tracks. You click it, and it takes you to a private music page.
Yeah. See, like that's the stuff. You can make it programmable, which is what is so freaking cool about all this stuff right now.
That's fire. Was that Counterpart?
Yeah, it was on Counterparty. Some other guy, Christian Boston, he made an app where you
Mandel Duck, the boy.
Yeah, Mandel Duck. He made like skins for all the Counterparty assets. So if you own like that DJ Pepe token, you can make some kind of monster happen when it spawns and stuff like that. It's like those type of things that you can do with those tokens that can be programmed is what's cool, I think, too.
Totally. And I'll jump in and just say one more thing that reminded me of that. Like, I don't know if you guys know Steve, Crypto Steve. I broke the rule again. I need to make a new drink.
He's the flag guy.
Yeah, what is he? Just a dude with a flag or whatever. Yeah. He has a really cool non-fungible token, and he works with the Albricks a lot, and is really great friends with Lynn. And he has an awesome non-fungible token that is part of his company, but also like is a avatar of Ross. And in order to enter his building, the building, like the digitable building, which is all Ross Ulbricht themed, tells you about the story, like what they're fighting for his freedom, all this stuff. You, in order to get to different floor, sorry, I need to backtrack. There's a building in Decentraland that talks about all of this. And in order to get to each level, you have to own a certain non-fungible token. And it unlocks all these levels. So like, that's the kind of stuff I'm super excited about. Like DJ Skrilla just saying like, it unlocked like extra, songs from his album. Like that's the stuff that I want to see on Bitcoin when we do NFT.
To be clear, yeah, definitely. There needs more development on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But you are like, you can go to freeport.io. It's a Chrome extension, and you can create NFTs, and the image will show up on xchain.io, etc.
Smoke.
What?
Hey.
Why?
He said the bad word.
And
He said the acronym.
Well, I don't know. Josie was promoting Decentraland just now.
was I? I just said he built something in Decentraland. I'm actually not even.
Hey,
I'm not a huge.
Because
you
it
can
was
talk
Ross
about
Ulbricht
shit
related,
coins.
I think you get a pass.
You can talk about shit coins. You just can't promote them.
I'm
also,
not
you didn't say to buy it.
So
It didn't sound like investment advice.
You can also break the rules. You just have to pay the consequences, which means drink.
I know.
We want you to break the rules.
We made the rules so they can be broken.
Rules are meant to be broken.
I'm on the side of yes. It's great that you can have these nifties or whatever you want to call them, and people are building them on that other coin. But if you do it on Bitcoin, it's just a layer. It's a layer. Because we have Lightning. It's a layer. You don't want to change the core of Bitcoin because of security, but any changes, any things you want to add or change to it, make a layer. Call your layer an app. Okay. In my case, and I call it the Satoshi NK, whatever synth. All I'm doing, I'm using my app to take the data from the Bitcoin blockchain to make sounds, and you take those sounds and you make whatever you want from it. It's a layer. Why can't it be just as easy to say, okay, take this GIF and add some sounds to it, and now you have this unique token that you can only access through Bitcoin? I'm just thinking
Honestly,
out loud.
It's fine. It's fine because Ethereum is just going to become a Bitcoin sidechain one day anyway. So it doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying.
It already
That's
is,
the
baby.
best answer. That's the great answer.
I feel like that's a great segue.
Yeah, exactly. So Tommy, great segue into the next, which is Nifties on Bitcoin or hashed into Bitcoin, like bearish or bullish. Let's actually start with Tommy on this one.
Well, I mean, I'm bullish in general and on Nifties, but like mostly I'm doing it for fun right now because as far as I'm concerned, until it's stamped to Bitcoin and it's on the Bitcoin blockchain instead of Ethereum, it's just as valuable as Ethereum is, and I feel like Ethereum's not as valuable as Bitcoin, and it's not even the same league as far as I'm concerned. So I mean, I'm not to shit on my own Nifties or anything like that, but I'm yearning for the platform that's like super rare, but on Bitcoin, because
better to build on a solid foundation than a
that's what I'm saying,
centralized shaky one.
It begs the question, like if another DAO happens, like which side of the chain are you going to put your Nifties on, right? I think that's a question you probably don't want to think about as an artist, right?
But do you have
Ethereum?
Would NFTs get forked into two NFTs?
Like if another DAO split happens and we have Ethereum Classic, Ethereum, Standard again, right? Like, are your NFTs on both platforms? Did you just dilute the supply of your collectibles? Like, how does that work? I mean, that's, I guess, just one reason to put it on put it on Bitcoin, but it's something that someone like an artist like yourself probably doesn't want to have to think about or even have to worry about, right?
That's a great question. Do the Nifties fork?
Well, I mean, I guess
That's a good question.
Wouldn't they?
They kind
They
of do,
would, right?
Like
They
there
would,
would be
yeah.
hashes on both, but it depends like what do the platforms support and all this. Like
But
there's layers
I
on
think
top of that.
at the point of the fork, if it changes because now it's not the original, then the fork of that Nifty is something totally different and not worth as much as the original. Similar to how you have forks of blockchain are not of big forks of Bitcoin are not worth as much as Bitcoin because there's no other Bitcoin. So if you have your Nifty on Bitcoin on a layer of it, however it is that the community, the people decide to do it.
Well, wait a second here.
A fork of it is never going to be of the same value as the original.
Didn't Counterparty come out before Bcash came out? What happened?
2014.
So what happened with that? Like, are there doubles?
Yeah,
no,
so like
that's on the Omni layer.
This DJ Pepe, so it was made in 2016. Then the fork happened, so now he lives on all the blockchains in like a parallel universe. So if you took Counterparty and parsed that network, DJ Pepe would be a different version of DJ Pepe, and it's going to go on and on like that. I wrote an article about it a while ago after the forks.
It's kind of like the Ricks, right? Citadel of Pepe's.
Is this quantum? Is this like quantum Pepe?
Yeah.
Yes. Quantum DJ Pepe.
All right.
So many Pepes.
Is anyone?
You don't want to meet BSV Pepe. He's an asshole.
So okay, but let's bring this back to like there's fuck forks. Okay, let's talk about BTC, like non-fungible tokens hashed onto BTC either in the future, today. Like, why isn't it happening? I know many of you guys are hardcore Bitcoiners, yet you're kind of forced to use these other platforms. Why is it not happening on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I want to make it happen so bad, but I think
a long time
it takes that other layer.
Bitcoiners didn't want it to happen for a long time because they called it spam in the mempool, and so second layer solutions have been trying to happen. I know Giacomo, I think, is doing something with Lightning and Counterparty. Joe Looney's doing something with his Freeport. There's a few other people doing stuff. I know Crypto Graffiti's talking about doing something with Lightning that he's working on.
There's talk of something on Liquid also. Like it's just.
But wait,
when like the sound is hardest money in history is like our focus. Like unfortunately, art is not the focus of most developers, I think.
Yeah. Okay, let's just throw this out there though.
Not what it's meant to be. Like Bitcoin is not meant to be programmable. Like that is, you know what I mean? Like that was
it's been programmable since very early on. Like it's not like I don't know.
So I mean, like let's just be honest. Being hashed onto the Bitcoin blockchain, like that could be the most valuable thing. Like having a hash on that, like that could be the most permanent thing in history moving into the future. Like, wouldn't that be exactly where you want your art to be hashed?
Exactly.
Totally.
Like you want
There's
to keep a $10,000 Bitcoin network. Like $100 thing is like a hot wallet kind of on Ethereum, but like a $10,000 Josie piece should really be on a Bitcoin network. It's going to be tokenized because that's forever. Most likely out of all this shit.
So is that transaction going to cost more than a regular transaction, like coffee transaction? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you?
You said coffee transaction, drink. I'm making a new rule.
All right.
You're not doing
So
it.
did I.
You're just. I guess you're using Bitcoin as like an anchor because like it's saying you got to do it on like another layer. Like you're not going to be able to do it all.
I mean, there's a reason Microsoft is tying identity to Bitcoin. Like.
But that's a layer. You know, anything from here on in. I mean, we all know like the Bitcoin the way it is right now, the network. It should be very very limited amounts of modifications or So anything you want to add to it should be a layer. If
right.
You're
So
talk
it takes
about
a layer.
Art is a layer. You know, if you talk about art on a side chain or a layer, nothing on top of it. You don't want your transaction to be, you don't want a picture on the blockchain, right? Because it's taking up space, right? Just like the
That's what
game was.
BSC is for.
I mean, for now, that layer is
Yeah.
Ethereum, right? Like that's essentially what's going on.
Yeah, and that's my
Yeah.
question is kind of like what I know we're all, Bitcoin maximalists here, but but like what is wrong with using Ethereum as the smart contract layer as long as the actual hash is in Bitcoin, right? Like therefore you don't have to worry about forks. It's in Bitcoin, it's permanent, it's going to stand the test of time. Like
So
what's wrong with using
at
Ethereum?
the same time, you have to trust that Ethereum is going to never fail. Because if you're going to put something, if you're going to use Ethereum as a layer, then you have to trust that it's not going to fail.
And you have to trust that a layer 2 like Lightning isn't going to fail either, but.
So right, are we saying that the layer 2's blockchain, like being as deep as Ethereum would help its case for not failing versus a new blockchain made for just Bitcoin NFTs to be a second layer?
Well, the new blockchain that you speak of would be a side chain or a layer, and
For sure.
if it's built with the fundamentals of Bitcoin, similar protocols, and the way Bitcoin is run, then it's more trustworthy.
But like, is that what
it's not centralized?
As
long as it's not centralized, a decentralized layer, right? Because if you're talking about Ethereum, and I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong. Ethereum is more centralized, and if you're using it as a layer, that's a centralized layer. You want a decentralized layer.
Josie,
right?
You look like you want to say something.
I'm so split because obviously like I want non-fungible tokens on Bitcoin, but at the same time, like there is something that has worked in the past, counterparty, and it's not popular. People are not educated on it. People are like, at one time maybe it was, but it's just not anymore. So like there are multiple
funding for it. There was never any money or any like growth with it. Like the VCs that poured into Ethereum, like the money that went into developers for that stuff is like beyond comparison to counterparty.
And would you say counterparty is more centralized or decentralized?
Well, it's centralized because there's only like a couple nodes running, but the idea of it is to have many nodes running. And do I think counterparty is the answer? No, because I don't even think you need a token, but something like counterparty where it's just parsing the network and it's a node that people can run. I think it's an expensive node, obviously, but
yeah.
Why do you need another layer? I'm confused. Like I'm not an artist, I'm not technical. Like what's wrong with just hashing it onto the Bitcoin blockchain?
Well, the thing is we need to parse out that statement a little bit. Like, what are you hashing into the blockchain? Like, are you hashing an image? Are you hashing like it can get complicated, right? Like you could hash something like, I'm gonna let Josie take this. She knows.
No, you're right. Yeah, normally people with Ethereum, hash like the metadata. They might like people sometimes put the art on IPFS, which obviously like if Ethereum goes down, people are like, oh, you could still retrieve the image and the data from IPFS, but that's not technically like a standard right now. And then there are some NFTs that the images are directly on the blockchain, which is rare. Like I can name them all right now, like Avastars, Autoglyphs, and I believe CryptoPunks is where the actual data that makes up the images on the blockchain. But yeah, like it's a complicated situation. It's interesting. Like as we're talking about this, I obviously want that to happen, but at the same time, like there's not only education for all of us as creators to understand, but there's also so much more education that a collector needs to understand of why it makes sense, what's going on there. And I've said to my collectors before, like, if anything was, and a lot of it depends on the artist, and like, which is why I always tell my collectors, like, do your research on what you're collecting, because depending on what your artist stands for and the ethos, like the reason why they're in it, can determine so much of the value of your work. But I've told them before, if Ethereum goes down, or if a better, more dominant Bitcoin, comes around and it makes sense to put non-fungible tokens on that chain, and I port over, you can send me your Ethereum non-fungible token. I will burn it and reissue for you. Or maybe there's something at that point that's around where it's a mechanism where you can wrap non-fungible tokens and bring them to Bitcoin. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not technical. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can so I can like basically talk to technical people and say like what I want to see. But it's definitely a more complicated situation. And I'll tell you that even a lot of my artwork is all Bitcoin focused, and the people that are collecting it, which are, you know, predominantly Bitcoin investors, just don't see NFTs making sense on Bitcoin right now. So a lot of it is also having to do with educating them once we're educated ourselves, which is the biggest hurdle for anything, I guess.
Well, I think you brought up a great point about how you would have to manually accept from the people that, you know, owned them before and send the new stuff to them. And it's kind of like the interaction between you and your collector, that the automation of that's kind of missing. And it's like the protocol, whatever the layer 2, whatever layer 2 solution it takes to write the perfect protocol to automate the system,
to wrap it right,
and put it on Bitcoin so that hopefully it never needs to be automated to fix itself or whatever. But like it's the automation of the process of collecting these NFTs and minting them or tokenizing them or whatever. Oh shit, I said
it. Drink. Yeah, and you also think about the size of this, the piece that you're making. Like how much data is it exactly, and do you want the next block to have to consume all of this data, right?
Which is why IPFS makes the most sense for now.
Is that blockchain, the block size debate, right?
Because then you don't have to store the actual image or the actual audio file or whatever it is. You store the hash that calls to the IPS server that pulls it. So it's not actually stored on chain. Because the things that things that are working and stored on chain right now have to be really small files. None of my artwork that's not like a super simple SVG, like none of my artwork could be stored on chain like economically. Like even on Ethereum, like it would cost hundreds of dollars to store just one edition of something that's like the resolution that I do. You know what I mean? So unless it's just like a super simple SVG or like voxel based and small, you can't store it anyways in a way that makes sense, which is why IPFS comes into play.
Yeah. So now we're looking at a layer that uses, because IPFS is its own entity pretty much. Now you're looking at a layer that bootstraps IPFS, right, and connects it to, you know, the Bitcoin, right? That's another thing in itself. Isn't that different than the Lightning, right? Because Lightning is its own layer, but IPFS existed besides and without Bitcoin. You can use it as a layer to like you were explaining, right? And is that a possible solution to getting art, getting digital nifties into Bitcoin?
Well,
and not necessarily needing Ethereum.
Well, these Ethereum ones still use IPFS, so
they do. Okay.
Yeah. There's 3 parts to it. There's the hash. There's where the image or the audio or whatever is being stored, and then there's the smart contract platform that facilitates the ownership back and forth. And that was kind of my question: is like, if you're using IPFS because you have to store the actual file, and you're using Bitcoin to store the actual permanent record of that existence, and you're using Ethereum to just facilitate that ownership layer, like that seems like a pretty good system to me, at least, because I mean, Bitcoin,
it serves its purpose.
It's working, and Bitcoin just doesn't have the capabilities to write that complex of smart contracts right now, right? You're at the base layer, you're still dealing with opcodes, which is like a calculator, and Ethereum, for all of its flaws, you know, does give you a full scripting language where you can do, you know, more complex things. Of course, that exposes like security vulnerabilities, as we've seen, but I think we're kind of we have the storage solution, we have Bitcoin as the historical database. I think what it sounds like is we're looking for a Bitcoin smart contract language, which I think everyone's looking for, because that would just solve so many issues. But we haven't seen it yet.
In this example that you give, Pat, would the art be denominated in Bitcoin, or would it have to be denominated in Ethereum? Because that's one of the main things.
I think that's totally up to the kind of the front end, right? Like super rare. I could be wrong about this, but at its core, it's just like a front end application, right? That's just talking to all these different databases. So I think that might be a decision that you decide in that layer. But to answer your question, it's totally up to the artist how they want to price it.
Yeah, like I've even talked to OpenSea about, is it possible? Are you guys going to start accepting Bitcoin, anything like that? And we've kind of like brainstormed a little bit. Obviously, if they do decide to start accepting Bitcoin, no matter what, even a user that has Bitcoin in their wallet, they will still have to have an Ethereum address connected to it, because that's where the NFT will be deposited. So you still have to have both. So it becomes like, is it too cumbersome? Does it make sense? But really, yeah, I agree. It's up to the front end platforms.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of things, there's also like kind of like what Lucho does, which is where you're just putting like pro Bitcoin propaganda on these Ethereum platforms. And I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Very subversive.
So I do a podcast called POV Crypto, which is the Bitcoin versus Ethereum podcast. And the biggest lesson I've learned from just rubbing up against every Ethereum you can imagine is that almost every single one of them owns Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoiners are everywhere. Bitcoin is money. You can hate Bitcoin, a la blockchain.com and BitPay, and you're still using Bitcoin. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, you could just hate everything about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Core, the implementation, and all Bitcoiners, but Bitcoin is neutral money. So that's just how it is.
Definitely a better payment layer for sure too.
Yeah, but Roger Ver spent like $1,000 on a transaction back in 2017, like 10 times. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
He's still paid with BTC, right? Let's move over to VR art. Bullish or bearish? Let's start with Josie, just obviously because you are pioneering in that department.
Bullish. Can you hear me as well with my headphones off, or should I put them back on?
Sound fine.
Okay.
Good.
What?
Good.
Huh? Yeah.
Bullish for sure. I'm doing some work in VR that I'm super excited about. I think VR is like, especially right now, there are just so many things you can do in it. I'm going to meetups, multiple meetups every week in VR. It's just such a unique experience. And really even like, I do AR as well, which is like taking physical items and you scan them with an app, and then something, augmented reality, something happens, right kind of in front of you through the lens, through your phone or whatever. But VR,
I've seen those t-shirts.
Yeah, I'm wearing one now. But
Yeah,
VR gives you like the full immersion of like experiencing all of that around you, being able to touch stuff while you're in there. Like, I'm super bullish on it. I think it's super exciting. I'm building a VR gallery with some awesome folks right now. And I also think it's really important because you can actually, I love just like putting like a timestamp on things, and you can, I can create a really awesome exhibition and gallery. Like Brecky, for example, the thing we're working on, like we could have an awesome like VR gallery that shows this whole entire storyline that we're working on, immerses you into each thing. So you can listen to the audio with it. You can see them move. And then it also keeps that set in stone so that I can literally have a link to it. And anyone at any time, 10 years later, can go into this link and experience that exact same scene and that exact same experience that that the person who originally created it or one of the first visitors that saw it 10 years ago saw. So I think that is something that's super cool that you can do in VR that I'm really excited about. But yeah,
We're gonna have to find like a Unity developer now to like do the whole thing.
I already have one.
The full walkthrough, like.
I already have one. We're good.
Well, that's like what you were talking about before. Is it's essentially owning a pass to a VR art gallery at a like by you said like by trading the NFT you get access. Who's talking about the Ross
Yeah,
gallery?
Steve has that with Digitable in Decentraland.
Right, so it's like exclusive ass art gallery that like the price of admission just goes up and up because it's just an NFT. Oh shit, dude, that you have to trade to get your experience, right? So it's like it becomes an experience that is extremely valuable in itself.
Yep. And you can visit it forever. That's what's so cool. And even talking to these, I'm super excited to eventually announce who I'm working on with this, like visualizing the history of Bitcoin through different paintings. And even talking to those people who really, some of them don't know, like, or aren't in the non-fungible token space, but they've said, well, what are you thinking about how to keep this, how to keep this timeless, how to make this last forever. And when I tell them about that, they're super excited about it. And I think everyone, at least in our space, because we are pushing the boundaries so much all the time, they get it, which I think is exciting.
That boundary is like, okay, at what point in history did people realize, oh, I can have this forever?
Mm-hmm.
Because a painting, you can, if you maintain it, it can last a very long time. Doesn't mean it will last forever. Not until the digital age did we realize that something can last forever.
Right.
The oil on the painting, who knows what's going to happen 1,000 years from now. But data 1,000 years from now is still going to be either a 1 or a 0.
Does anyone else have an opinion about VR art? Pat?
No, I was going to comment on kind of the fungibility part of art, which is crazy because we don't have like a image of like what the Last Supper or like any of this super historic art like looked like. All we have is like a faded remain of it, and that's obviously just a limitation of the physical medium. But I just was saying that's pretty cool that we do for the first time in digital, despite everything being in servers. And if like an EMP hit the earth, we'd all be fucked regardless. But apart from that, it's awesome to have this historical ledger of all of this. I think that it's going to be a gold mine, to be honest, in like years to come. Historians are just going to have just too much data to work with. It's going to be really, really cool.
And the beauty of it is that we could talk about this and not care about how much is a Bitcoin worth? Who cares, right? One
Right.
BTC is one BTC. The value it doesn't even matter. Like,
Well, I mean,
I'm just trying to point out the fact that we can talk about this all day, all night for a whole 24/7 and not care about what it's worth compared to fiat. Whether it be a US dollar or I don't care what country you come from, it just doesn't matter.
It's basically like a benchmark to compare it to fiat up until a certain point. But like it's like at this time it was worth this amount of ETH, so you can go back and say how much was ETH worth at that time, and you can say, all right, this piece was transacted for this amount, and then you can figure out what that's worth based like on your current situation. If it's like 500 years in the future, you look back and do that equation too. So it's like it's just a way to have a benchmark and to know that that number is true. And if the blockchain gets fucked with, that's when you can't trust anymore whether or not it's true, right? So like somebody could go back and say that my Nifty was transacted for 1,000 ETH on this day instead of half an ETH or whatever it was actually transacted for. So it's like it's the integrity of the blockchain is where the value comes in because it's the ledger of transactions throughout time, right?
That's true to a degree if you can trust it, because I could come in with an anonymous wallet and use my same ETH and bid it up to like $1,000. Be like, look, my thing sold for $1,000, but you have an anonymous
True.
wallet holding it. So once it has to clear that part of it.
So I guess if you're a whale, you could become like the most epic, nifty artist ever because you just buy your own shit for like crazy sums.
Yeah,
It's like wash trading for art.
it goes on.
Well, isn't all art selling just fucking money laundering anyways, right? Like the banana on the wall shit.
Yeah,
Uh,
good
that
tax
Right.
credit.
banana needs a block.
CK, bring us back. We need an anchor here.
All right, happy to do it, guys. Let's talk about experimental art. I know Brecky and all you guys are really you guys are cutting edge really on experimental art, dealing with digital stuff. Like bullish or bearish on getting away from just traditional prints and painting on the walls. Like, why are you guys in this digital space?
Popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn, Bitcoin audio. I think you are arguably the most experimental, maybe.
He's got that.
No
No,
offense to everyone
no.
else.
I was about to chime in and say that somehow what happened with me was I heard the word Bitcoin, and then I was triggered automatically. I was just like, what is it? I fell just by hearing the word. And then being somewhat technical and being somewhat creative, and I just it all kind of just happened. It was a series of events, and now I'm here, and I'm starstruck because I'm with all these dope ass artists, okay, on a Zoom call amid this crisis. I'm sorry, I'm going off because I can't believe that I'm here right now with you guys, and it's just dope, and I'm having a good time, and
He's been
just wanted to
anon
share
on
that.
Twitter for a while, and it's a rough transition at first, you know.
Thank you, thanks, Breck. Thanks, bud. But
All right.
yeah.
No other comments on this? Should we move on to topics?
We have topics.
Oh yeah, we got topics. All right.
This is a very structured podcast.
So-
Christian, when dealing with artists, you have to provide as much structure as possible because otherwise it just goes off the rails.
This is
man.
not art related, but how do you guys feel about the Bitcoin halving? Anyone have any strong opinions? Let's go with Brecky.
Not really. I don't plan on ever selling Bitcoin, so what's the difference? Well, no. We'll see what happens, but it'll be another day, another block. Doesn't matter to me. Sorry. I wish I could be more
Boo.
you want me to drink? I'll drink.
No, I'm right there with you, man. People ask, "Oh, is it happening priced in? Priced into what?" If you're talking about price, you mean you're comparing BTC to some type of fiat. Where's the pricing in if BTC equals BTC? You don't sell it because if Mr. Brecky and I want to have an exchange and he has a node that's dipped in mineral oil and I want to buy it from him for X amount of BTC, that's our trade. And no amount of fiat is gonna,
The problem is most of the world isn't the Bitcoin mindset. So until everyone switches over, there's gonna be that interplay.
But I'm not dealing with the rest of it. I'm trying to buy that.
I want to change the topic a little bit. I want to hear from you guys why Bitcoin and crypto, why are you guys Bitcoin and cryptocurrency inspired artists? Why are you guys fucking with the space? What about digital hard money inspires you guys? Let's go with Skrilla.
found out about Bitcoin from Silk Road and went down the rabbit hole. And I'm a musician and artist, and I've that's just what I do. It's like whatever my life is what I do art about. So Bitcoin was a big part of my life, especially just going down the rabbit hole for like 3 or 4 years. And I kind of decided too, there was an opening. Both first, like when I started with the rare Pepe making in 2016, the crypto art scene was brand new. And then with the crypto music, I just think I'd always wanted to do an album that was like a piece where I could look at it as like a piece of art that was like dropping jewels about Bitcoin, but not being cheesy and kind of like having an edge still for art. And I guess I found the time was right, like kind of last fall, and I got in the mix. But I've been brainstorming on it for a couple of years. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Lucho.
Cool, man. So I started making art as an adult, like after a few years, like working in corporate America, actually. So I started, like, I went to school for finance, and when I got out, I started working a job or whatever. I hated it, man. Like I felt like I was a child artist, and I was pumping out spreadsheets and stuff, and I really hated it. So I saved up money, bailed on a job, and decided to start making art. And like all my art has always been about like sharing whatever I thought was true in the world, like whatever I thought was important, you know. So whatever is like a big problem in the world people should pay more attention to, that's what I was making my art about when I started making digital art. So um I found Bitcoin in 2016, and like I started getting into it, like just speculating and stuff. Like I saw like what happened in 2013. I knew about it. I thought it was going to go up again, but that's when, like you guys say, the rabbit hole. Like that's when I actually jumped down in there, and I really like. I can say like super passionate about my hatred for banks. Like I really, really hate banks, man, and I hate everything they've done with money, and I hate how no one fucking understands. Sorry, wait, sorry, dude.
You can
I,
cuss. We don't care.
can I cuss? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Fuck
Nobody
banks.
fucking understands, man, and it's really like, dude, it's money. Like it's your god, and you don't understand anything about it.
Don't
So
want to
like,
understand.
yeah, dude. So like, I really like. I found something better, and I want everyone to know about it. So that's why I'm here.
Josie.
Did you
Oh,
ever have a
no,
bad
audio.
experience with the bank? Did you ever had a bad experience with the bank that made you be like, "What the heck? What the?"
Have you
Yeah,
ever had a good
yeah.
experience with a bank?
I mean, dude,
To my point. Thank you.
but I've had personal experience. Like, let me just give you like one example. So when I was young, my father died, and my mother was left with some insurance money, and that's what she took care of us with. You know what the bankers sold my mother like tons of? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And that like that really fucking that's fucked up, man. It's really fucked up. Like they don't know what they're buying. It's AAA rated, and that's the shit that they shoveled on grandma and whoever else. So for that reason, among many others, like even after getting into Bitcoin, like I've had my own like little experiences here and there with the banks. But I mean, that shit that they do is terrible, man, beyond fractional reserve and everything else.
But you're still putting your faith in people, right? Like it's just people.
Yeah,
A,
it's
a
people.
bank, a bank is
Right, but it's the shit that they do. I mean, selling that shit as like a super super secure investment is a terrible thing to do. Giving out all those subprime mortgages is a terrible thing to do. There's a lot of terrible things they do.
It's people, and it's incentives. It's a system. A lot of
Incentives.
like I don't blame bankers. I blame banks. Like there are obviously some bad bankers individually, but like when the underlying system is broken, like you just have to fix the system.
right. You got to align the incentives, because incentives are what make the world go around.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean,
incentives of fucking people. And if you can take the people out of the equation and trust it to math that we, can all, there's a consensus of the nodes, you take out that equation or that part of the equation from the ledger.
you
Stop
got
muting
more for
yourself,
us, Tommy?
Am I
No,
muted?
no. The nodes play a big part in this whole equation, right?
Raise your hand if you're running your own node.
Ooh.
We won't shame you because it's fine, but you got plenty of time right now. Can I make a statement here? I'm one of the painting that I can't.
You're not allowed.
I can't. CK, give me a platform for 1 second. The piece of
Get
art
out of
that
here,
I can't.
Becky.
That I can't bring myself to finish is a piece that incorporates a Casa node in the piece. So like the canvas itself will be a part of the Bitcoin network. So like if you can't bring yourself to run a node for the sake of running a node, like take that and like go make a piece of artwork that is a node. Just go do it. See what happens. You'll have to set one up in order to do it, and then I don't know. You might create.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Check this out.
It's definitely worth
this
it.
shit right
sure.
here. I don't know if you can see this shit.
Nah,
That shit off my background.
Yeah, what is that?
It's called Sculpey. Hold on.
Oh yeah, I know Sculpey. You're talking to artists, okay? We know Sculpey.
Dude, I just discovered Sculpey because of Nikki. She made something that I thought was dope, and I asked her how she did it. Sculpey. So I just got turned on to that. I might make a Sculpey node of some sort.
Ooh,
inspired by you.
Do you know about PMC? Have you heard of that?
No.
Peter Schiff loves this shit. It's precious metal clay. It's basically, it looks like a normal clay, and if you fire it, it like bakes, like the binders bake away, and it turns into either like silver, gold, copper, or whatever like the underlying metal is. Really cool stuff. But I think you can use a blowtorch to fire it. I have a blowtorch and I've tried unsuccessfully, but apparently you can do it. So we'll see.
Any excuse to use a blowtorch, right?
Exactly, basically.
I have a flamethrower I haven't used, so maybe I need to buy some of that.
Is that Elon Musk?
Explain the backstory of that. Oh, it is?
It's yeah. I had to wait in line to pick it up, but there was a spot in Chicago that they were you had to like pre-order, then you go pick it up. So yeah, we have one of those.
That'll keep people 6 feet away from you when you're out in public.
Well, is that shit the fun company or some shit?
Boring.
Boring.
Oh yeah, see, I was way off.
You got to make flamethrowers fun again.
Yep.
Actually, they were never not fun. That doesn't make any sense.
Anyone else like want to talk about like why does digital hard money inspire them in from an artistic perspective? Inspires me to podcast a shitload. So that's what I do. I just talk about it a lot.
I'm gonna say real quick, because the artist, his greatest value, his greatest asset is his or her time. Time. Because it takes time to create. It takes time to get into the zone where you are going to create. And a lot of times, it takes, an artist may have many different hats on. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times you have to it takes some time for you to get into that zone where you're going to be like, damn, I want to create something. I want to make something. Oh, shit, depending on the situation, you may not be in the mood. Your mind may not be in the right state. But when you're in the right state, and it takes you hours to create something that no one has ever done before, that has value. That time that it took for you to create this thing, the time has value. The piece, the thing has value, and you add those together, and cumulatively, that's total value. And it just it's hard, right?
All right,
I'm sure you guys could.
But why are you spending all that time? Dig deep. Like, what's the reason that you're taking time out from your family and everyone else to do that?
because you feel, you don't always know, but you feel deep inside that it's something worth creating, because it's going to may help you realize something. It may help someone else, and you may appreciate it. Someone else, as the one, if one person can appreciate it, and if you think of the word appreciation, right, as far as in the context of money, if one person can appreciate the time that it took for you to create, and that means a whole lot. I mean, that's worth something.
Yo, buddy, I'm gonna blow your mind for half a second here. The real key,
Please.
it's really cool if other people appreciate it, but if you're making art and you appreciate that time and you value it, that's all that really matters. You know?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I also, to play off that, I agree that not even just someone else appreciating that you took time, because honestly, at the end of the day, like, I don't think people care enough to appreciate what other people do. But if they connect with it and they find a way to experience that with you, and they see something of themselves within it, or they're learning something from it, like, that's what I feel like is like the sweet spot of like an art piece, of song, like whatever it is. Like if somebody can like vibe with that, and if it's even like, no matter what emotion it's evoking, even if it's like sadness or hatred or like whatever it is, like I think that's like the special spot. And even with like Lucho talking about he studied finance, I studied finance too, and working, in that sector after I graduated college, and literally like managing high net worth clients' portfolios and making them money, and knowing that myself, even that I was registered to buy stocks and bonds for people, like I was fully like by government law registered to do so for other people. I couldn't do so for myself because I wasn't an accredited investor, because I didn't have a certain like network. So like that is what I think is super cool and super important about people who make Bitcoin art, is that you're not just, in my opinion, you're not making, or for me, for myself, I'm not making it just for myself. Sometimes, sure, like a lot of times I think of ideas that are rooted in like a personal experience or something like that. But my goal is to bring it to other people to connect with it or learn from it or whatever it is, because like it's the awareness, it's the education that I think is like kind of our role to bring to people. Which is really cool. I think like what Bitcoin Audio and DJ Skrilla is doing, like having these, like we're bringing sort of that visual, but having like the audio with it, which like these different senses just do completely different things for people, and have completely different target audiences. Like I think that is really cool, like hitting it from all different angles on what people can learn from. I think it's really important. So yeah, I guess it's not like I don't make art just for myself. I feel like I'm making it for other people.
Well,
if that makes sense.
It can be both. It can be all of it.
Yeah, totally.
Well, it's so important, because I'm sure all of us have friends who are not in Bitcoin who, honestly, in their artists or musicians or whatever, in their day to day, they just don't interact with the scene, right? They don't care about fiscal policies. They don't care about economic, theory. It's just not what they're doing on a day to day. And so like, your art or like Skrilla's music might be the only way that they actually get exposure to this ideas, because it's actually speaking a language that they are understanding and consuming, right? At least that's been my experience, talking to friends outside of this space, is it's just, they're just in a completely different worldview. Like these are things that they don't care about, they don't understand. And so that art might be the first seed in their mind where they actually start questioning, well, what the fuck is money made of?
If you listen to Skrilla's new shit, you will be bullish, man. I'm telling you, I was listening to that. It's the propaganda that we need. You know what I'm saying? Like
sound bites
on the head right there. It's
Dude,
beautiful.
Where do we find it? Where should I go listen to this thing?
Yeah, can you drop a link somewhere?
Everywhere. Just look up Sound Money,
It's everywhere
DJ J
streaming.
Skrilla.
Okay.
Yeah, it's streaming everywhere. You can go support it if you want. $10 at Bandcamp, or I think you can buy it on iTunes and all that. I don't know.
All right.
I'm gonna follow you on
Can I
Twitter.
give you some of my ETH?
I'm gonna retweet the shit out of it.
You
What's
just
your-
The ETH.
I take anything liquid.
I'm not going to give you any Bitcoin, but I'll give you
What's
some
your-
out of my
what's your Twitter
MetaMask wallet.
handle?
It's Skrilla Ventura, SCRILLA.
I think there's a good transition point. The next is Bitcoin as part of pop culture, as part of culture. Like, you guys are the point that translate these values to people that aren't insane macro investors or gamblers or whatever the fuck we consider ourselves.
Was there a question there?
Like what?
I think it was an accusation, maybe.
But yeah, how do you guys think about like Bitcoin as part of culture, and like how do you
sleep
guys
at
make
night?
that, right? Like with
That's
music, with art,
important.
with
Yeah,
everything.
that's why we're all in this space. I think to promote the culture and of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is, it's money, but it's many things to many people, and I think probably all of us are in it for the culture.
I mean, by
True.
definition, culture is art, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
this is a
how
niche
do we,
culture.
right? How, a group of people, a mass of people get together, and what do they have in common? The common thing is culture, and culture is art. So
It's the underground financial culture, counterculture movement.
yeah, I got it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the
Hard to
Bitcoin,
talk about the culture while it's being developed. In 10 years, some historian will come back and say, this was the Lucio Paletti era, and this was the Josie Bellini era, and then it moved on to the Skrilla century. Like, we're making it, but I don't know. History will decide exactly what this is.
yeah, I was gonna say that I think the mainstream narrative is still terrible, but the Bitcoin culture itself is awesome. It's just like this whole, I think the Bitcoin is for criminals thing is like literally still relevant.
It's getting better though. I think it is.
I mean, it is because CNBC Fast Money is like gets bullish whenever price goes up. But I don't know.
I have to share this Bitcoin VR story, right? I'm in VR and I'm talking about Bitcoin with another person who's in VR, obviously. And then someone comes into our conversation. As soon as they hear Bitcoin, the word Bitcoin, they said, "Oh, y'all talking about Bitcoin. I'm out of here." Almost like it was a bad word.
No, see, he's probably guilty of something.
Quite there yet.
That dude was mad guilty of something.
I don't know. I've talked to Uber drivers that like know about Bitcoin and can at least say a few intelligible things about it. So I think that's pretty cool.
So I got a question for the group. Do we think that Bitcoin has shaken its kind of image problem? Like I don't know about you guys, but like when I got into this, like I would say I work in Bitcoin, and I would almost like try to avoid saying it at parties, because you either find somebody who's like totally into it and they talk your ear off for the rest of the night, or it was like, oh, it's almost like saying you deal drugs, or it's like you would kind of get like a whoa, like okay. Do we think that we've outgrown that yet? I mean, it's still, I think you're still hearing the echoes of that past, but it has kind of, broken through to like the CNBCs, the Bloombergs, the, whatever you want to say, publications.
Yeah, I think we're still in a gray area, and the gray area could be like 5 or 10 years wide, like I was saying before, the guy who came into my conversation in VR, he heard Bitcoin, thought it was a bad word. Maybe in a year or two from now, he might be a Bitcoiner. He's a pre-coiner for all we know, and then he could become a Bitcoiner. But there's that gray area, and that gray area is, like I said, we don't know how wide that is yet.
Yeah, I don't get as much as I've been trying to onboard some popular digital artists on Instagram that actually don't have anything to do with Bitcoin art or anything. They don't even have knowledge of crypto. I'll drink for that. But they don't have knowledge of anything like that, but just bringing them into like the non-fungible space because there's a little bit like just to have more talent in that space. And I feel like a scammer when I'm talking to them because, you know, they don't know anything about it. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like telling them all of these like benefits of why it makes sense to tokenize their work and all this stuff. And it's still like, I do feel scammy because not a lot of people know about it. And it sounds like the things that I'm saying are totally unbelievable. So I think there is a little bit of that. I don't think it's as much, at least from my personal experience, like the criminal ecosystem that's like in Bitcoin. I don't feel that as much, but I do feel like there's still a lot of like apprehension and just like misunderstanding of what's going on, and the growth of the space, I guess.
I'm curious to hear what your pitch is. Like, why do you feel scammy? What's too good to be true?
I'll send you my pitch. I have like a
You got a deck?
document. Like, no, I actually do have a deck. But it's for someone who doesn't know about it at all, and to, you know, start talking about, they start asking questions and to start saying that I fully basically sell, you know, digital tokens of my artwork and that's how I make my income. It just doesn't seem believable to people. And to tell, once I start actually, like, I was onboarding someone and the process of actually getting them, you know, these wallets and setting them up with how to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum and all this stuff, it just seems like they're nervous. Like, you have to, you know, enter in your bank information. You have to do all of these things. Like, it just is, because it's not such a like well-known, or like it's not so prominent in everyone's life. They're nervous for it, especially because I don't personally know them. I'm reaching out to, I'm like cold calling basically. I'm reaching out to people that I don't personally know, just people who have big followings that I think would do well in the space. It's a weird balance for sure to try to stay honest, but also be conservative and not tell too much because it seems fake. But yeah, I'll send you my pitch deck later.
Yeah, I could see how they could feel scammed, especially if they've never even been involved in this type of shit before.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume everything is a scam, so props to them. But that's why we're still in that early adoption phase.
Right now, do you guys see any interest for Bitcoin and crypto art that is outside of explicitly like this niche group of people that are already in the space? And I will drink, don't you worry.
What was that? The last thing you said?
I will drink, don't you worry. But like, is there a market outside of Bitcoiners and crypto enthusiasts that want Bitcoin art, Bitcoin themed art?
A really tough question. Like, my first response is no. But I think if your art is so, I don't know, different or beautiful or just eye-catching, then like if Bitcoin or crypto is incorporated and there's passion there, then I don't think it'll matter. But you know, the art, breaking into the art world is a whole nother subject, you know, and I don't have a good answer for that. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the like Bitcoin themed art is obviously targeting a very specific person who would want to, you know, hang that up or enjoy it. But the kind of technology behind NFTs is universal. Hey, I was hoping I actually wouldn't get caught with this, but it was all I had left.
I'm on empty, so.
You see some art. You see some art critics now. Like I don't know if any of you guys follow Art Gnome on Twitter. Have you guys seen this guy? He kind of came from the outside, like from a non-crypto background. He was like super into like generative art and kind of some obscure kind of areas where art meets technology. And then he kind of found what this was happening and was like, felt like he discovered a gold mine. He was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like this is a whole revolution. Nobody's paying attention to it. And I think, you know, he's like a perfect example of someone coming from the traditional art world into crypto and saying, shit, this is a whole new world. And he's obviously on the bleeding edge, but he's probably 2-3 years in front of a lot of people, and maybe they wouldn't buy art that has like a giant Bitcoin on it because it's just not their jam, but they can still, utilize the fungible tokens, all of that stuff to create a living.
Is he someone who's making like Bitcoin or the C word focused art, or is he someone who's like using a blockchain somewhere to either tokenize or do a chain of title, or like what is his motivation for looking at this sort of movement?
Art Gnome specifically?
Yeah.
I think he's kind of like an art critic, right? He writes a lot of like essays and stuff. I think he's coming at it more from like a collector and kind of like historian angle is what I've gathered. But
he's storing all the artworks as he can on the internet. He's been working on it for like ever.
Yeah, and he's brought some traditional artists into the NFT space as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Drink.
Which I think is interesting because did I say something?
No, but you can drink.
You said
Don't try to deny it.
No, I didn't even notice. But also I think to all of your guys' point and to Pat's point, saying like maybe someone wouldn't necessarily want an art piece that had, a B on it for Bitcoin or whatever. I think it's kind of interesting to see and to think about like even, and maybe I'm too far in it and not thinking, I'm not thinking about the outside point of view, but I'm not a gamer initially. And then I've gotten into gaming kind of through non-fungible tokens and through this ecosystem, or at least like in the VR aspect. And to think about, these games, which I don't know well, but like Minecraft or Fortnite, like where you actually own your skins, you own your land, you own all these different things. When you're selling your crops, you're actually making like real currency through it, like crypto through it.
You're just doing it on purpose now. Come on.
Yeah,
she's. I need to finish my drink.
She's catching up.
Yes. But like all of these things through it, like that is what I think is like, at least for me, those worlds, those games are kind of like the gap that brings the traditional market, the traditional scene to NFTs. I just saw the other day, I've never played Animal Crossing, but obviously I've heard like it's gotten really big during quarantine. And I saw a digital artist that I follow on Instagram. Yeah.
That's
I thought that was like 2008. Facebook
no,
shit.
I mean, it's like
Animal Crossing is freaking huge right now.
I had never even heard of it, and then people were
Is that
saying,
what you like?
No, Lightning Labs is actually holding meetings inside Animal Crossing. I shit you.
Yeah. No, yeah. And then, I had never heard of it. And then I start seeing all these people posting about it. I'm like, what is this? And then I saw a digital artist who made, and she probably has like 700,000 Instagram followers. She made pixel art in Animal Crossing of her actual digital art and is selling them in Animal Crossing. So like someone who understands that transition could easily understand non-fungible tokens. Like that is what like I'm excited about, to see the people that are understanding how to bring digital art to this space and monetize it, and then bridging, like just like closing the gap and bringing it to this world where, all the transactions are tracked, all like everything is, there's a history to it. There's all these benefits, transparency, all these benefits to it. Like that's where I'm excited to see it really blow up, is through gaming and then eventually leading kind of to art. But I think gaming is probably like the initial plug that brings those two together, in my opinion, at least, because it has a bigger audience.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought Pokemon would be like the perfect use case for NFTs. What, Brecky? Yes or no? What do you?
I haven't been playing recently, but I needed exercise and I got back into playing Pokemon Go so I would get out of the house. And I totally agree. Like it'd be amazing if it was like, oh, you actually have them. But like, here's the problem is like a lot of these traditional gaming companies love their walled gardens, and they truly believe, as of now at least, that like this is how they're going to make the most money. I'm of the belief that the gaming companies that realize before the other ones that they can make even more money by fostering this sort of ecosystem where they create these secondary markets and they foster real ownership, like they're the ones that are going to succeed. So like like Light Night is in like a beta right now, and like I think Samsung now has a game. There's a lot of people like experimenting in this area, and who knows which ones will take off. But like the next Fortnite that is as good as Fortnite and gives the gamers like more what's the word more, not power,
like an economy. They give them.
Yo, it's all about World of Warcraft, but like instead of gold, it's fucking Bitcoin. Like,
right? Like, what if they just switched over to Bitcoin one day? It'd be fucking amazing. Like,
man, I've been itching to get back on that shit, but I just realized that if I do, I'll never make another dollar again in my life.
no, don't. We'll never see you again. It's you'll be a
Stay
big.
with
Don't
us.
do it, Tommy.
Stay with us.
I can't. Like, I just can't.
And a paladin for the next 20 years. It'll be awesome. But
Dude, Nelf Rogue all day.
Not gaming is a superpower. I'm sorry to the gamers out there, but gaming is a time suck.
For a minute.
I just ordered it's called a Game Box Hero, and it's like $140 or so, and it has like all of the old school games from like like the original NES, like Atari. Like it has like over 11,000 games. So I'm gonna give that a shot and like start with adventure and like work my way up. But
But not even just that. One more thing that's, I guess, food for thought for all of us here, because I think it applies to everyone, even like the audio stuff. Like, look at the brands that are starting to get into this area, like Louis Vuitton, Nike. Like, they're figuring out how to tokenize their assets, because at the end of the day, the avatars that you have in a VR world, in a game, whatever it is, like it's a social status. Like, if you're wearing super tricked out like gear and super tricked out skins, like that is a social status. Doesn't matter what your name is above your head, doesn't matter who you actually are in real life, like that gives you some sort of value. What you're hanging on your wall, what music you have on, if you have like Jay Skrilla headphones that are like branded and super sick, like whatever it is, like that is like something that the generation younger than us here understands and that they want. So like they're the ones that I think are going to like start using this kind of stuff without even knowing it.
Hashtag TikTok.
Yeah, seriously. Or even like the I'm not even kidding, like the Instagram filters. Like, I'm not really good at Instagram and I am new to it, but like the Instagram filters of where people can be holding a fucking Chanel bag and like it actually looks like they're holding it, but they don't own it. And they're using it for like, like promoting purposes to like look like they're holding some expensive, ridiculous bag. Like that kind of stuff is like, that is what the next generation wants, what they're looking for. That's cool ways to be using like non-fungible tokens in that space and being able to monetize it. And big brands are already starting to do it, like Nike and Louis Vuitton. So I think that's kind of cool to watch and kind of cool to see. And I think it will kind of propel the space if done right. So I'm excited about that. And I think we could all like learn from it and benefit from it for sure.
How are the name brand people doing it? Like when you're talking about and Nifties and stuff, and let's say Nike and all these people, and you got that special, you got that exotic Michael Jordan, like Jordan's sneaker, and it becomes a token, and whoever owns that sneaker is the owner of that token, and it's that's unique.
Well, it's kind of about the output, right? It's about like where you're experiencing it at the end of the day. Like if your avatar is swagged out or whatever, and it looks super dope, and everyone else can see all that stuff, and there's like extra attributes attached to that, like you've unlocked other shit because of it. Like that's the like Josie said, like the younger generation, they understand all that shit. It's all gamified stuff. But like we just got to introduce that to Nifties and Bitcoin, which obviously like has already been a thing. But it's like, where do you experience it? Whether it's Decentraland or Crypto Voxels or something else like that. Like
what platform? What platform are they using?
Yeah, you got to experience it in some way. So it's like the consensus about like what protocol to experience.
I don't think that any of the major box brands are. I mean, I think some of them are tokenizing on Ethereum to some degree, but outside of that, I think there may be just like they're creating digital assets that are more traditional, that are just like centralized digital assets. or swag on these like games via partnerships. I don't think that there's a whole lot of experimentation beyond like just tokenizing on Ethereum.
Yeah, you're right. But I think that, I guess my point, and sorry if I confused anyone, but my point is that because brands are already starting to experiment with digitizing their assets and bringing them to these different worlds and games and all of that, like it just makes so much more sense for people, and they start to understand it because it's already happening in worlds and games that they already live in. So I think it just kind of goes hand in hand and makes sense for us to be figuring that out in our own realm and bringing more people into it.
I did do a thing where I tokenized the Sound Money artwork for pre-orders, and I sent it to the token to anybody who pre-ordered the album. They just had to email me a proof of purchase, so they got like the token, whatever.
Where'd you do
That's
that?
the thing right there. You had to like have the email.
Bitcoin with Freeport.
When did you do that?
Just for the pre-orders leading up to album release, like last week. So there was like 17 pre-orders, I think. So 17 people have
I didn't see that.
And then I have a token too for anybody that buys it on Bandcamp, sends a proof of purchase, then I send a Sound Money token. So it's like a second token.
And imagine if those.
Was that a shill? Was that?
Yeah, it was a shill.
It's
not shitcoin, is it?
It's on Bitcoin. It's just, I'm just saying, I'm using Bitcoin to use it. So basically, it's like a Patreon token. Like the way I look at it is like, all right, you're like, yo, especially in your high school or something, you're like, I was a fan of them before this, blah, blah, blah. You're like, man, look, you ain't got the pre-order token in your wallet, then, you know, I do. Then it's proof right there that I was listening to this before you type shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
but not just that. Like, imagine those tokens are your ticket into a virtual concert of you DJing live.
Yeah.
That is.
I could get a developer to do whatever I want with those tokens, you know?
Yeah.
And, those people got them for free so they can create a market. I might not do anything with them. I would never, you know, there's no promise, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's sweet. You can almost like give every one of your fans like a number, like who got in the queue first, you know, who was the OG and who was late to the game. Dude, that's awesome. I keep going back to like, I feel like for this stuff, like we're all talking about this, we're on the fucking bleeding edge, right? It's the tech's barely working. You're having to use all these weird interfaces. It's still early. I think it's really going to take a big mainstream name like to adopt this, and then it's going to all blow up. Like that's how people, you know, follow trends. That's how people make most of their decisions, is they look to their peers, but most importantly, they look to the people they look up to. And it's going to take somebody coming out and just completely adopting this, whether it's like a Kanye or someone of that stature. Like, I just wonder who the first one is going to be.
Yeah,
but after that,
Kanye put out a token with like just 5 access tokens to some website that he got a developer that was highly skilled, and they could, you know, obfuscate the link and all that stuff. All great, man. People would fucking go crazy. People would learn about crypto because they're fans of Kanye. They want to have access as collectors, as fans. Then people. You have a smart contract behind it where, you know, you could do certain things with it, not certain things with it, and all that. The secondary market would, you know, you'd have crazy trades. It would be wild.
We just need Tony Hawk to be like on a rooftops doing some skating with a Bitcoin skateboard, and then for like him to jump over an orange Cybertruck, and we'll be good. That's all we need.
We tried.
Dude, it's gonna happen.
Goddamn Rona. Yo, let's transition to our last topic, and I think that this is a good time. It's physical art versus digital art. Like, where does the future lie? Are they symbiotic? Are they competing with each other? Does one have a future and the other doesn't? What are the opinions here? Let's go with Lucho.
I mean, I would say symbiotic, because there's always going to be a place for physical art. And I mean, there's even some NFT. I need my mezcal, man. there's some NFT artists that are, I gotta get it, man.
Hey, let's
I
do
can
that
go
shot,
get
bro.
I can go get it.
Wait, finish your thought and then
Let me
we'll see the
finish. Yeah,
shot.
yeah. So I think even some of the NFT artists like acknowledge that. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm kind of like there's two ways that I see it. One is that moving art, like things that are digital in nature, need to be, that, and if like a non-fungible token, that's the way to do it. That's going to be the best way to sell it, hands down. But physical art's always going to have its place. So I mean, I think a lot of the artists in the space now, they do both. And artists will continue. I think, more and more artists will start making digital art because there's so many more capabilities now, like all this 3D art, VR art, all these things that you could never do before. Now you could do. So if you're an artist, you're experimenting and you're trying to make new stuff, cool stuff, like you're gonna be attracted to digital now. So I think they're both gonna, be hand in hand for sure.
Beautiful. Audio.
I just want to chime in on the fact that the digital art is definitely big time. The fact that people enjoy their physical art is big time, and it's classic. What connects the two, right, is your physical art that you have on your wall that's also connected to, let's just say, the Bitcoin blockchain. Your physical art on your wall is connected because it's a node, right? As we discussed earlier with Mr. Brecky, and your art is now also contributing to the Bitcoin blockchain and validating and things like that. There's this.
Maybe it's the sound waves.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is a digital only art the value compared to digital plus physical art is kind of what I'm getting at. You're the art that has a node that contributes to the blockchain, compared to just a piece of art that's on the wall and not connected digitally.
I mean, that's exactly what the deal with this thing back here is.
No.
Like, what do I do to put this on Bitcoin? And that, and why? Why would I do that?
Hook a node up to it and make it do something that no one else has thought to do with it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's got to be.
Take an open dime deep inside it. So you got to tear the artwork up if you want the open dime. The art pieces. What do you want to judge the value of? How much your shit is worth? If Bitcoin goes up in value, is it worth more than your painting to destroy it?
So the joke I like to make is that, like, with a lot, I embed open dimes in a lot of things, and I like to joke that, like, if I put some Bitcoin on there, at least if nobody buys my art, like, it's worth something because there's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But,
it's an investment for you. Like, if you don't sell it, at least it'll 10 times on its own just sitting in your shit.
I think Crypto Graffiti did something like that recently, right? Where he put like Bitcoin or something inside of it. So it's like you decide whether you want to, like, get under the resin, get under the metal, get under all this stuff, see if you want to open it up.
Yeah.
I love that.
I like that experiment with art. It's cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Bitcoin. Until Bitcoin, I didn't realize that the concept of to attack it, it costs you more than what you're gonna get from it, right? I didn't realize that concept until Bitcoin. Like, there's this safe, and it's gonna cost you more to get into the safe than what you're gonna get out of it. Right?
So throw the art on top of that, and it's like a double safe. Yeah.
That was, to me, my mind blowing. Like,
bullish.
But yeah, I agree with everyone here mostly. I think everyone agrees that the physical and the digital can live together and be successful together. Just like we were talking about with the example, like Nike has a patent to make non-fungible tokens on the Ethereum blockchain. Like eventually that'll obviously happen on the Bitcoin blockchain. And it's like that's exciting to think that you can own something in the meat space or whatever you call it, like in real life, and then also own it in games, in virtual, I think is huge.
Did you just say meat space?
Yeah,
I mean,
That's a word.
Reality.
It also comes down
That's
to
a
like
word.
what, meat space?
Yeah, meat space is a thing.
I love that word. It's one of my favorites.
Definitely a thing.
But like,
Shit,
I
I'm
can't
new
wait to
that.
see you guys all in meat space. God damn, I miss you guys.
the beefsteak meat space. Let's talk about that later. But like, so with art though, like, doesn't it? I don't know. At least in my opinion, it comes down to like how you execute it. Like my background a few minutes ago was one of Josie's NFTs, and like I'm personally of the belief that like, let's say like you look at the NFT on your phone, like that's cool. I'm out of booze, otherwise I would. I'll drink. Let me finish my thought, and then
I'll drink for you.
I'll bring the bottle, and then I'll take a handle to the face. All right.
Okay.
You look at an NFT on a phone, for example. Like you can say, oh, it's really, really cool, whatever. But like, let's say you walk into an art gallery and you see Josie's NFT projected on the wall, and you're like, holy shit, 20 feet tall. That's really cool. But like on the flip side, again, like what if somebody built a totally 3D immersive VR version of that NFT? It could be even more powerful. So like, regardless of the medium, it's the power of the art itself that matters. Like you go and see like Van Gogh, like Starry Night or something, and you're just like, fuck, look at that shit. Like I still remember to this day seeing like a Rembrandt that was like 20 feet tall that I saw in the Netherlands, and like the way they showed that piece of art, they actually like you were in this room and it was completely dark, and they used spotlights and music to like illuminate different pieces of the painting and tell a story, and I was blown the fuck away. It was incredible. So like, I think the art itself is important and the medium itself is important, but how you use what you have at your disposal is equally, if not more important. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
As important is, okay, if this person or entity created something based off of Josie's nifty, and now it's in the 3D world, you have to prove that it was okay with Josie to create this other entity, and the only way to prove that is through the Bitcoin blockchain. If you cannot prove that you created this based off of that, it doesn't hold the same value as what you based your work off of.
I have a question.
Right? Does that make sense?
I think it does, right? And you're saying that like in the future it will start with digital as like kind of like the proof. I'm kind of curious, like in the 2000s we started seeing video games being the inspiration of movies and not the other way around. Are we going to start seeing digital art being the inspiration of physical art and not the other way around?
Right. And how does that original artist, get credit or get paid or get acknowledged for the inspiration, right? You inspired someone else, and if that someone else made millions of dollars off of your creation, do you deserve that? Do you deserve some type of compensation or royalty? Right?
This is a whole libertarian conversation that we don't have time for, but it is important.
You and I will have that conversation, sir.
Wait, who was it who just said though that like, CK, I think it was you, that like will, no, it was you, that like will something digital start inspiring the physical? I think that's
well, the example was like in the 2000s we started seeing like video games like Tomb Raider being the inspiration for movies, when usually it was the other, movies inspired video games. Like, are we going to start seeing? Yeah, are we going to start seeing like digital art be the inspiration for sculptures and other physical art in the real world?
We have that with Bitcoin.
That for sure.
We have that with Bitcoin though. No, like how many of us started making art because of something completely intangible? So like It'll be interesting to see if there are other examples of that, but I think it's already here.
I wish Fractal and Crypt could make it to this, because I feel like he totally knows how to talk about that. Making art out of Bitcoin. I mean, obviously Bitcoin Audio's here, but...
Sorry, guys, I missed that last.
Were you
Just big
distracted by
Fractal and
CK
Crypt fans.
Because I'm distracted by CK's background.
We're just talking about how dope that. Holy shit!
It's Princess CK now.
I like it. Bless up.
It's a good question, Christian. I mean, like you exist in multiple forms. Like you're sitting there in meat space. You're an avatar on Twitter, and you're a guy on a screen in front of not anymore, but you were a guy on a screen in front of a Princess Tiara, right? Like you the idea of CK, you have multiple manifestations based on what platform people are interacting with you. And I think like what's interesting about transcending this is that like you could create a piece of artwork, right? I'm going to use Josie again because like she actually has a physical piece and the AR piece and the just straight digital 2D piece, but like you can create a single piece of art that transcends multiple different mediums. And I think, you know, you could always do that, right? You could always interpret things in different mediums, but what Bitcoin and what crypto is doing to this is it's allowing you to kind of tie those threads together for the first time. And it's all, I know.
What is this? Bitcoin Magazine circa like 4 years ago? Come on, man. Like, you know better.
Pat knows what Bitcoin Magazine 4 years ago was like.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure. But I mean that's the promise of this all, you know, is that it's providing that, you know, that interoperability between different mediums. I think that's one of the most fascinating parts.
Like and I'm gonna throw us in there because my daughter pointed out that Bitcoin audio and Bitcoin colors united together create a medium similar to what you're talking about, where you have the visual, you have the audio, based off of data that's immutable.
It's essentially the most like raw form of what do you call it? Experiencing the blockchain, right? Like you're taking just a tone and a color, and that's what you're experiencing at any moment.
Yeah, and you can manipulate it, change. You could do all types of things to it. Bitcoin is raw. It's just the base level is raw, and the outcome is just unimaginable.
Bitcoin's raw, and what you're doing with it is definitely raw for sure.
All right, y'all. We are getting on 2 hours and 20 minutes, and if you count the technical difficulties, we're almost on 3 hours, which would make this the longest Bitcoin drinks in quarantine ever.
How many
blocks has
it been?
Huh?
How many blocks has it been?
I've not been counting, but if we average it out, that's like what is it, 12?
15?
Maybe 14 blocks. But
good amount of time.
Hey, I finally got my mezcal, by the way.
Let's go. Let's see that shot.
Got it.
You guys, we're gonna move on to last word. So, thanks for sticking around for all these hours. I know, especially you guys on the East Coast, it's getting pretty damn late. Let's start with Bitcoin Audio. What's your last words, my friend?
My last words is, hey, thank you for having us. Thank you for getting us together. This is awesome. Let's have more. Let's have more fun. Let's get creative together. You know, creativity is fun when you do it by yourself, but creativity together is that much more fun. You know, and Berkey can attest to that. You know, we're getting creative together. It's fun. We're both learning. You know, learning is fun. Obviously, let's do it, man. Let's.
Lucho, last word, my friend.
Cool. So yeah, it's really great to hear from all you guys, especially like Bitcoin Audio and Skrilla. Like just getting like the music aspect of the art scene was pretty cool today. Sorry we couldn't meet at Bitcoin 2020 quite yet, but looking forward to meeting you guys all, and hopefully we'll all be working on some cool stuff for Bitcoin 2020. So see you there.
Skrilla.
I don't know. I don't really have any last words except for stay safe, stay
Listen to Sound
solvent,
Money.
listen to Sound Money, buy Bitcoin art, keep experimenting, and keep learning. Like Bitcoin Audio said, that's the fun part, I guess. And yeah.
Cool. Pat.
Yeah, man, it's been a fun session here. I think it's just important to remember that, like, this really is the bleeding edge, and it's called like the bleeding edge for a reason, in that, it's kind of painful. Sometimes it might not get the attention that you think it deserves because it's so new, but just remember that, like, all of this stuff is just pioneering. It's on the complete edge of what's going to happen. So, props to everyone out there who's creating good art and putting this technology to work.
Hell yeah. All right, let's go Josie, Brecky, Tommy.
Cool. Thank you for having me. This was awesome connecting with all of you guys. Some of you that I haven't gotten a pleasure of chatting with personally. But I'm super excited about non-fungible tokens on Bitcoin. And I think this is kind of the perfect segue and kind of like idea space that we can all connect to create a collab piece on Bitcoin. I think we need to make it happen, at least with all of us, and then maybe add some others in. But I think it'd be fucking epic to have a collab piece with at least all of us on Bitcoin. So I guess opening the door and ideas to make that happen would be awesome.
Fuck yeah. Get a whale to pay for that transaction to hash the whole damn thing onto the chain.
Yeah, take the whole block up.
All right, I got something very important to say. All right, I'm looking at the live stream. We still got 80 people, and that, you know what that means? That means there's 80 people who have nothing better to do than to watch us artists on this live stream. So what I'm going to say is, if you have nothing better to do, go out and make some Bitcoin art. Doesn't matter if it's garbage. Like, get some fucking crayons, some chalk, go buy Bitcoin on your sidewalk. I don't care what it is. Just do something. And if you're passionate about it, if you have fun, it doesn't matter. Maybe you'll inspire some more Bitcoiners. And who knows? Maybe you'll be on the next Bitcoin Magazine live stream. Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
Yeah. I propose that, going off of those last two, I propose that next time we do this, we all create a piece of art during the live stream, and by the end of it, make it a nifty on Bitcoin and auction that shit off or whatever. But next round, we're all making art during the thing.
I like that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It's good, yeah. You guys, this was a ton of fun. Thanks for joining. Everyone who stuck around for the live stream, get a life, but appreciate y'all watching us.
Oh.
All right, I'm ending the stream now.
Later.